the company was quite bearish, and we're trying to break down some of the mysteries here on the stock market in Uganda to see that we get more investors on board. We get you and I buying some shares at the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, as of yesterday, Stanbic Bank closed at exactly 20.69 shillings, and we're trying to look at what this company has in store for us and see if we can trust our money with Stanbic Bank. Now, Stanbic Bank is under, of course, the bigger company called Standard Bank, which is a financial institution based in South Africa. The company deals in different financial services. They have a stock brokerage firm called Stanbic Bank Group, Standard Bank Group Securities. They also have other financial services that they offer to their clients. And when you look at the founding of the company was founded as National Bank of India way back in 1906. And after several name changes, it became Grindlays Bank. And this was, of course, before being bought by the Standard Bank Africa Group, which is based in South Africa. Now, when Standard Bank Group bought the Grindlays network in Africa, it also, in October 1993, re-established its presence, and that is in Uganda as Stanbic Bank. That was in 1993. However, the company got listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange to become a public limited company on the 25th of January 2007, and this was a very exciting IPO, one of the very, I think the third financial institution after KCB and Bank of Baroda, who listed earlier in 2007. There was a lot of excitement for this bank to come and join the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, so far the company has a market capitalization of over 1.06 trillion Ugandan shillings. We are talking about 1 trillion Ugandan shillings worth of shares that are listed or that are floating on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, the company is also the 5th most valuable company on the Uganda Stock Exchange and represents about 5.13% of the entire Uganda Stock Exchange equity market. Looking at yesterday's trading, there was a loss that was registered on the daily trading by losing about 0.31 Ugandan shillings, and that was from 21 shillings yesterday opening price. Closing price was 20.69 Ugandan shillings, and it was a 1.48% decline. This was after trading a volume of about 10,700 shares on the market with a gross turnover of just 221,400 Ugandan shillings. They have about 51.2 billion shares that are outstanding, and that brings their market capitalization, of course, like I mentioned, at 1.06 trillion shillings. The company's recent performance basically hasn't been that good. After yesterday's, yesterday's drop at 21 shillings, from 21 shillings to 20.69, the company has also lost about 20.4% on its year-to-date performance. That is comparing their first price of the year, and that was 26.0 shillings, to the 20.69. The company has lost 20.4%, which is one of the poorest performances in year-to-date on the Uganda Stock Exchange, and is coming in the 11th position out of the 18 listed companies in terms of year-to-date performance. However, the only thing I could advise you to invest in Stanbic for is the fact it is the second most traded stock on the exchange in the past 3 months. We're talking from June 23rd to the 21st of September. They've had a total of 496 million Ugandan shillings gross turnover that has been traded in a volume of 23.7 million shares that have been transacted within this period of 3 months. And that's the only green ticket for you to actually say, hey, I'm picking Stanbic Bank because they are the second most traded stock. As I said, when you're picking a stock, you look at many things surrounding the stock. You look at the nature of the company. Do you like the sector? Do you like the financial services sector? You also look at the annual performance. You look at the monthly performance. You look at 3 months back, the year to date. But also, you look at the activity. Are people interested in this stock? Is there activity? Is there a yearning for these shares? Are people interested in transacting money, transacting shares on this particular company? And if it is yes, then probably you still have hope that even if I get to buy these shares, I have somewhere to sell them. There's liquidity. And so that's the only point I could actually stand on and say buy some stock in Stanbic. Another point is, the company is trading shares in a financial institution at 20 shillings. For Christ's sake, 20 cents. That's close to nothing almost when it comes to probably what we can afford to buy in any shop here in Uganda. There's nothing that costs 20 shillings. And you're buying a company, you're buying Stanbic Bank at 20 shillings. Now, that is another point that I would take very seriously. The price is quite affordable. The stock, rather, is quite affordable compared to many other financial institutions. Let's take a look at other financial institutions that are listed on the stock exchange. Look at Equity Bank. It's trading at 1,490. Compare that to 20 shillings. Way more affordable. Bank of Baroda is trading at 85. Not so bad, but still much more expensive. KCB is at 983 after declining below the 1,000 mark the first time this year. It is trading at 900 shillings, still much more expensive. DFCU is at 547, an equivalent of a chapati probably. That is still much more expensive. Jubilee Holdings at 700, still much more expensive. Centum at 305, still more. So this is the most affordable financial institution that we have on the stock exchange. So that is another point that I could use to actually support any person who would want to buy shares. But if it is someone who is investing for the short term, I think you shouldn't. Because of the recent poor performance we have registered on the stock, it could be risky getting in and coming out very shortly. That is going to maybe cost you somewhat because we are seeing that the company has been losing in the month, has lost 1.48%. In 4 weeks, 1.48%. In 3 months, they have lost 5.95%. We're talking about a loss on the price valuation. And in 6 months, they've lost close to 20.4%. So if you are a short-term investor, this is not a stock for you. If you are a long-term, seasoned investor, definitely this is one of the stocks you can look out for. That is Stanbic Bank for you. Yesterday was one of the top movers there on the market. Unfortunately, our time is fast spent. I would have loved to go through MTN and Nation Media Group as well as some other stocks here, but our time is fast spent. So I would rather rush to the entire summary of the stock exchange and have to say that we have 18 companies. We have British American Tobacco, we have Cipla. You can see them down there in the squeeze back. Those are some of the companies we have on the Uganda Stock Exchange. And to invest is quite simple. All you need to do is open yourself an SCD account. How do you open one? There's several options, but the quickest ones are the following. Number one, you must have a national identity card. When you have this card, you go to the easy portal of the Uganda Securities Exchange. That is at www.use.org. And when you visit this website, you go to the easy portal, you open that portal, you take a picture of that particular card or the national identification card, and then a picture of yourself, a passport photograph, and the rest is history. You put in your names and your personal details, and the account is opened at absolutely free of charge. No, there is no cost at all. And if you want to go through another means, is using your MTN line by simply dialing *165 *57#. When you dial *165, *57 hash, you will definitely get into the Uganda Securities Exchange, and they will open that account for you, okay? With those details, of course, new identification number and so on. And when you open the account, you approach one of the 5 stock brokers we have in Uganda. That is Cheaper Technologies, the most recent one, Standard Bank Group Securities, Crested Capital, you have Dyer and Blair, and UAPO Mutual. Very few and countable, so you can choose one according to your taste and preference, and they will be able to buy you stock after even some bit of financial advice that you might need, of course, if you are a novice at the stock market, and they'll give you that help as well. Now let's move very quickly and summarize the trading yesterday. As we have said, it was quite a bearish market. It was a bear market, but at the end of the trading session, we had about 271,000 shares that were traded on at approximately 51.5 million shillings. And the day's trading session compared to the previous one, we see that there was line in the volume, but a 7% improvement in the turnover because of the Umeme stock that traded pretty much more than other stocks. The market capitalization declined slightly to 20.6 trillion Ugandan shillings yesterday, and that is data, of course, courtesy of the Uganda Stock Exchange. Let's cross over to Nairobi. Very briefly, Nairobi Stock Exchange is the principal stock exchange of Kenya, and the biggest and largest and oldest stock exchange in East Africa. And we cannot talk about the stock exchange and leave out Nairobi. Now, currently the company has, because it's a share capital holding company, and it's listed, mutualized, and got listed on the exchange. Currently, the company has a total capitalization of about 2.1 trillion Kenyan shillings, and about a total of 65 companies that are listed. They not only have the equities in their markets, they also have other products such as exchange traded funds, that is ETFs. They have derivatives, they have bonds and bills, treasury bonds, corporate bonds, and the equities market as well. So it is a quite diversified market, much more diversified than here in Uganda. Now, in aggregate, out of 65 companies yesterday, 45 listed companies participated in the daily trading, and we ended with 14 gainers and about 23 losers. And generally speaking, the market declined in performance. That is evidenced by the decline in the points of the Nairobi Stock Exchange All Share Index, which paired 0.21 points, and that was a 0.16% decline in a day, and it closed at 134.75 points. And when you look at other remarkable indices like the NSE20, they also performed poorly after losing about 0.56% on the NSE20, which is the performance tracker for the top 20 companies on the exchange. Whereas the NSE25, which tracks the top 25 companies, declined by about 0.06%. Now, the gainers here on the market were led by Crown Paints Kenya, who came out with an 8.56% appreciation in price and closed the day with a 42.50 Kenyan shillings per share, followed by Sasini Tea and Coffee, who also gained about 7.38%, and then Nation Media Group gained about 6.55%, and closed the day with a price of 17.9 Kenyan shillings. Whereas when you look at Olympia Capital Holdings, who was the top gainer the days before, and he gained about 6.14% on the stock market there in Nairobi. And then when you look at TPS East African, was also a top gainer there. But rather, these markets looked a little bit familiar with the markets before, and we are not seeing much different activity on these markets. And then in terms of volumes, Safaricom led the gainers with a 6.24 million shares volume that was traded. And then Kenya Power and Lighting Company also had 798,000 shares, whereas KCB Group had about 2.56 million shares that traded on the stock exchange in Nairobi. And that is as far as the volumes are concerned. Investing in Kenya is so simple. Altex East Africa gives you a chance to buy some bonds there in Kenya as well as in Uganda and Tanzania by simply dialing *292#. And that is no need to access the internet, no need for any intermediaries. All you need is to actually get your phone if you are an MTN subscriber, and using your Momo Pay, you can pay for a bond starting from 15,000 and above. You can also sell a bond if you own one on the Uganda Stock Exchange, on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, or any other exchange in East Africa. You can still do that trade and definitely get to transact some of those shares, some of those bonds and other financial instruments. That's Altex East Africa asking you to do something new and of course get some savings for yourself. Now, as we wind up this segment, I would like to remind you we are talking today crypto. What is the future of cryptocurrency in East Africa? It is claimed that over 12 million people in East Africa are using crypto. But is this statistic true? Given the financial literacy we have in the country, should East Africa adapt cryptocurrencies as somewhat legal tender, or should the regulators be more cautious? We are having Mr. Barry Ainomugisha, who is going to elucidate all matters concerning crypto and definitely get you sorted. Stay with us. We are taking a quick breather. We'll return shortly.